Welcome to Sales is Not a Dirty Word, the podcast that shows you how to convert 8 out of 10 sales conversations without acting like a douchebag. I'm your host, innovative sales coach Aleasha Bahr, the creator of the Black Sheep Sales Method, because if it's a fit, it's a fact, and there's no selling involved. If you're a service provider selling your own service who's ready to sell differently than the mainstream status quo and win more sales without pressure, pitching, or pretending to be somebody else, then this is for you. If you want to know more about the Black Sheep Sales Method, then go to aleashabarr.com. So today I am inspired to record this podcast episode because of appearances in sales. So, you know that a lot of times I am sort of making fun of mainstream sales and the douchebaggery involved with the strategies that people promote that are really just this one point of view, right? This aggressive guy. And one of the things that is more popular in most recent years in this advice is to work out, that you need to be in shape. Like people don't buy from people who aren't in shape, and you need to be attractive and all of this stuff. And I would be lying if I said that being attractive doesn't help you in all areas of your life. Unfortunately, that is the world we live in. There is a subconscious bias towards appearances. Like you don't want to look like some, slob or anything like that. But here's the thing, you really want to look approachable. And that is an important distinction. You don't want to look like some meathead or like extremely ripped person or like model level status attractiveness, because that's intimidating a lot of times on a subconscious and conscious level. So when someone is really attractive, and it plays out differently for men and women, right? So for women, they have to deal with men hitting on them and making advances, and they have to navigate that in a way that doesn't offend the other person's ego. If the woman is super attractive working with other women, sometimes there can be this subconscious feeling of insecurity from the other woman, whether she's aware of it or not. It just all of a sudden she feels like she's unattractive, And so she kind of like doesn't like this person because they're attractive. And so things have always been easier for them, is like the assumption or something like that. If it's a man who's really good looking, the same thing can happen from other men who are working with that man. They can all of a sudden feel insecure that they're not as attractive as this guy and kind of want to take him down a peg, right? If it's a woman, she can feel insecure about interacting with him because he's attractive. And all of a sudden she's worried about like what she's saying and doing and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's really about looking approachable. Do you look like someone that I trust, that I want to hang out with, who's friendly, who's kind, who's empathetic? It's undeniable that looks make a difference in somebody's success. However, if that is the main tool that you rely on, you're going to fail. It is the least important tool in your toolbox, in my opinion. Being intelligent and kind and empathetic and curious are going to make you far more successful than just being attractive. So, I mean, I worked in corporate sales for a while and for like 10 years. And we sold digital advertising. And I remember there were women in the office who would get super dolled up before going on a meeting, if the meeting was with men, and, have a push up bra and really tall heels. And guess what? They didn't get the deal, you guys, because the men that they were meeting with knew exactly what they were doing. And men are smarter now than they used to be, for sure. They definitely can't sexually harass women the same. So that opportunity isn't on the table. And they realize, oh, I can't, this person is trying to sell me based on being attractive rather than this offer or solution being the right choice for me, you know? So as much as they leaned on that, it ultimately didn't close the deal because these men aren't dumb, right? And so I have somebody that I'm working with right now who's a very attractive man. And he's also really smooth in his delivery. So he doesn't have ums or you knows or kindas or any kind of filler language, I guess because he did Toastmasters, which if you are speaking in front of a group, you absolutely need to remove that filler language. However, in sales, it can actually make you seem more human. And the more human and approachable you are, the more people are going to trust you. If you're perfectly gorgeous and perfectly well spoken, it just feels practiced. It feels in a sales context like this person's really good at sales, so I kind of trust them less, right? On like a subconscious level, because this person in my Thursday calls, we have role playing, reverse role playing that we do where people will be buyers on other people's offers. And so someone was a buyer on his offer, and his delivery for this conversation was like smooth jazz, late night radio, like velvet. And she was like, I feel like he's selling me. And we couldn't really figure out what it was until we talked about it deeper. And it comes down to the fact that he doesn't have anything about him that makes him seem like just a regular guy. And that he might be so attractive and so smooth that it's working against him, which it seems funny. But if you think about when you're interacting with somebody, especially the smooth part, you're kind of like, this person just seems rehearsed, right? So it was a really interesting conversation because the guy was like, I've done all those programs and they emphasize how you need to be in shape and this and that. And I'm like, that's just a quarter of the story. Like, you don't just want to be swole. It's not like, ooh, this person's in shape, so I'm going to buy from them. That's not a thing. And people buy from people who aren't in shape all the time because those other qualities I mentioned are more important, like empathy, intelligence, kindness, curiosity, being able to articulate yourself, being able to relate. All of those things are going to create more trust than just being muscular or whatever. So anyway, really what came down to with him was like when people get their guard up, because he also sold an offer where people have been burned so much. He sold med spa lead gen for med spas. So med spas have tried all kinds of lead gen and gotten nothing from it. Zero results. So they're very on their guard and skeptical. So when people are hypersensitive and vigilant to somebody being too good at sales, especially then, it's like you need to be aware that you need to come off like human, because he was taking these other sales courses where the people were like, just display confidence, and it's like confidence isn't going to win anyone over if they're worried that you're lying. Okay, so you're confident in your lie. You know what I mean? Like you're acting like you're so busy all the time and you're of higher status and you're so confident or whatever that these people say. And it's just like, well, if you're lying about that, what else are you lying about? You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't feel trustworthy. So when somebody would put up a guard and be like offended, because you can tell in somebody's body language, in what they're not saying, in their tone of voice, in the words that they're choosing, in their facial expressions, you want to reset that and say, hey, this is why I'm asking this, right? So in this example, he was explaining how many hours it would take to get results with them. And it's not very many hours. It's like 1 to 2. But ironically, a lot of times med spas don't even want to take 1 or 2 hours to manage their leads. It's like a whole issue. And this client provides all of this sales support to make sure that they close the leads, because the issue with so many other lead gen providers is that they don't offer sales support and the med spas don't have any sales process in place. And that's why they're not getting results. Actually, it's not because the leads are bad. So when he was asking how many hours do you have, it's only 1 to 2. She felt like you're trying to sell me on like it not being very many hours. And so he needs to say, hey, I'm just asking because sometimes med spas don't even want to spend 1 to 2 hours. And if you don't have that, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to get results from this. So I want to make sure that it's a fit and you have the time available. So it's sort of like hitting pause and explaining why I'm asking this question. It's for your benefit. It's not to sell you. You can also say things like, hey, I'm not here to convince you of anything. So if that's what you're looking for, it's not me. And I just want to find out, I want to give you the information you need to know if this decision is in your best interests. So it's really kind of hitting that pause button and reminding them, hey, I'm just a human too here. I'm not just trying to quote unquote sell you. I'm just a regular person who's trying to understand your situation so I know if you're a fit to invest in this and have it be a good investment for you. So, being able to communicate that at any moment when somebody's getting skeptical and defensive is really helpful for reestablishing that trust. However, the other sales training that he took just told him to, like, you know, plow ahead and display confidence, and every time they have a doubt, don't dig into it, just display confidence. And nobody was buying because he's this very attractive, smooth talking, overly confident guy who, honestly, whether we like it or not, people have an idea of subconsciously or consciously that they can't trust that person. So I wanted to put this out there just because in recent years, there's been such an overemphasis on being in shape for sales. And if you want to be in shape for yourself, that's awesome. I work out. It helps my, mental and physical health. Huge proponent of being active. However, to say that looks is that important for sales, it's just not true. And there are scenarios where it can work against you, like when you look like a big meathead, or when you look like you have a push up bra on and a tiny skirt and tall heels. It seems very transparent and untrustworthy. So, this was a little bit of a different one. I understand it's a little bit controversial, even in case it's been floating around someone's head and they feel insecure or like they don't look good enough or they're not in shape enough for sales or they're putting too much focus on their appearance. I want you to know that that is a small part of the story. It's undeniable that it influences it, but I would not give it the weight that I would give to being approachable and human and empathetic and kind and curious and intelligent and just actually caring about the other person's best interest. That is going to sell way more than having lots of muscles or big boobs. Okay. So I hope this was helpful for you guys today. If it was, please share it, like it, review it. I'm trying to get in front of more people who are falling victim to this damaging, toxic sales message that's out there to show that there is a different way that actually works better in most instances. So I really appreciate you listening. I appreciate your support more than you even know. And until next time.